we can start seeing some people pop up and everybody can everybody see each other.
I love that we can see everybody. Hi, Anna.
Hi, everyone.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to see people's faces.
I know, right?
We'll just give like another minute while everybody's starting to join in.
On top of this, Anita, I'm going to do this.
You're going to keep doing it. Okay, everybody. Is everybody super excited for this? I'm really excited for this. Hi, Anna. This is going to be great. Okay, it's 11:02, so I think I'm gonna start sharing my screen here. Okay, so if everybody except for Allison and Kora, if you want to turn off your cameras, that'd be awesome. We're gonna all get together back at the end again, and we'll just get started.
I can hear anything.
And if you guys can mute yourselves as well so we don't hear your backgrounds, that would be really great. Okay, so I want to say hello. My name is Anita Peterson. I work with Style Inform, and I just want to welcome you to Kora Photography Tips using your phone that will boost your marketing. I'm super excited for this webinar. It's something we've talked about for a long time with Allison and Kora. It's something we hear a lot from our customers that social is so important, and getting that visual out there is so important, that people really wanted to know, like, how can I take really great photographs of what I'm offering or my projects that I've been working on. So I think, Allison, this was like a no-brainer for us to bring Kora on board and talk about the work that she does with us and give some tips to our customers. So just a little agenda before we get started. We're going to do some really brief housekeeping. Then we're going to be talking about how you can know your phone gear. We're going to talk about photography angles, whether you should use filters or not filters, flash and lighting, what you can do or not do. Steady as she goes, so how you take photos without shaking, how you're going to set the scene and set those beautiful scenes that you want to take. And then we're just going to do some questions and thank you. So just some little housekeeping here that we're just going to go through really quickly. When you want to chat with us, there's a little chat button down at the bottom of the screen there. Allison's going to be monitoring our chat. If something is really urgent, you can't hear us, something funny is going on, send us a chat. We'll deal with that right away. If you have a question but you need to leave the webinar early, send us a chat. We'll try to get to your question. If not, we'll answer it in a follow-up email. And then if you have any questions, we're going to be doing a Q&A at the end, and we'll answer all your questions at that point. And we're going to be doing polls during this webinar, which is a lot of fun. We'll be polling you to ask you important questions, and it's really easy. You're just going to answer the question, and then we're going to share the results with everyone. And then just a little about us, and then I'm going to hand it over to Allison for a second. We are Style Inform. We're a Canadian wholesale furniture company based in Burnaby, British Columbia, supplying retailers, designers, and hospitality projects since 2003. Allison curates beautiful collections.
You're part of the we.
We curate collections that range from mid-century modern and classic to industrial and organic, beautiful things like you're seeing on the screen right now for spaces that need a little bit of style. And then Allison, you were just going to tell us a little bit more.
Something that I'm doing wrong here.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm the owner of Style Inform, and I do the product development and buying also. Thanks everybody for coming this morning. I think this is our second webinar. The first one was super helpful. I learned a lot. I think I'm going to learn a lot in this one. Oftentimes sometimes doing like showroom photos or like candid photos is left with me. I'm not necessarily always the best person to do it. So I feel like I'm going to learn a lot from Kora about using my phone to take better photos for social media for sure. And yeah, I just want to say that I've noticed a lot of our customers out there doing some really innovative stuff.
Right now, there's no audio whatsoever.
Since COVID, and it's really great to see. COVID has really made us sort of expand our imagination, and we really had to try to change our business models. So
Absolutely.
appreciate everything you guys are doing out there. I look on Instagram all the time to kind of check out what's going on. And I want to say that Anita has produced this webinar. It is a lot of work. And Anita, we appreciate you so much and everything you do.
Thank you.
You're like our marketing guru every day. And I don't know what we did without you. So,
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. I love working with you guys.
yeah. And Kora does product photos, event photos for us.
Did you deposit the payment for now? Do you want me to order that? Sorry, yeah.
Alice, I'm just gonna interrupt you really quickly. If you guys are hearing me, if you guys could just make sure you mute yourself so we can't hear you when you're talking or your background noise, that would be great. And if you can turn off your cameras, that'd be awesome as well.
Right. Yeah, we're having some intermittent kind of sound come in, yeah?
Great.
And then, yeah, Kora. So I just wanted to say she does our product photos, our like event photos and merchandising, and also super critical like team member for Style and Form. So glad we're all doing this together. And yeah, take it away. I'm going to be here in the background and probably asking a bunch of questions myself.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. We'll just keep going here. So I want to introduce Kora. Kora, I have like the biggest like photography crush on you since the very first time I saw your photographs. I'm a huge admirer. Kora does all of the photography for Style and Form that you see, our beautiful shots that we use on our website, in the customer hub that you're able to download and use for your own marketing, a lot of the stuff that we use on social. And just a little bit about Kora, just really briefly, she's a Vancouver-based photographer and entrepreneur. She has a lifelong obsession with photography that I think is so adorable. Started as a kid in Poland when her brother got a camera as a gift. And Kora, I'm just going to hand it over to you to talk a little bit about yourself.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Anita. Yeah, my brother's first communion, he got a camera, and I was a very jealous child, so I just couldn't wait to get my grubby hands on it. I must have been probably about maybe 5 years old. And then fast forward to high school, I took a photography and darkroom class, and it just started there. I would skip other classes and stay in the darkroom, hide in the darkroom, and I ended up creating my own little darkroom in a spare room in the house, and and then that's kind of how it all started for me.
I love that. I love that because it's often those obsessions that we have, right, that turn into like that passion we have for life. And I know that we certainly really admire all the work that you do for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
And all right, so we're going to start with our first poll, there we go, poll number 1, launch the poll. So we want to just know what your biggest mobile photography challenges are. You just have to click on an item there so we can just get an idea of what your pain points are, so that if we do any follow-up with this webinar or future blog posts or social posts, that we have a little bit of an idea of where you'd like us to focus a little bit more. And so far we got great lighting as a challenge. We know that for sure.
Interesting. Okay.
We'll just give it another couple seconds here. Oh. Finding the time, that's mine for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to end this polling now, and I'm just going to share the results so everyone can see it. So great lighting is really something that everybody, and we talk about that in this webinar. We talk about how to sort of manage that a little bit.
Yeah,
okay.
For sure, too.
All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is knowing your gear. And since we're talking about phones here, Kora is going to, start talking about that and how you can play around with the functions of your phone.
Yeah, so I think the most important thing, honestly, you guys, is just to play around with your phone. You don't have to be an expert and know all the lingo to grab your phone and start poking around. My girlfriend just realized that she can take portrait photos. I don't know how long she's had this phone, but she's had the portrait option and didn't have a clue. So just poke around. I'm still sort of discovering things and apps and things that are available to me that I didn't know. So just definitely play around and see what options are available. Whatever phone you have, iPhone, Android, take the time to scroll through and see what you got.
For sure. And let's go on. So now we're talking about high quality settings.
Yes. So this definitely is really important. Go into your settings and make sure that your camera is set to shoot in the highest quality so that you will obviously have the best quality photos. That's pretty important to start off with.
Yeah,
you might find that you will run out of room depending on, how much space you have, but it's better to go through your phone and delete and do all that than have poor quality photos to begin with.
What is HDR?
Oh, yeah.
HDR. So HDR is high. It stands for high dynamic range. It basically takes the photo. How do I explain this? Like the brightest brights and the darkest darks, kind of high contrast, and then it blends them all together.
Gotcha.
That makes sense.
And we've got an example there. We've got an example there for iPhone settings with Kora's
exposures.
So you've got iPhone settings there and Android settings there. Kora, I took that photo after all of our lessons.
Oh yeah.
With that's my cat, my nice bird's eye view that you taught me about. And Android and iPhone can have slightly different settings. On my phone, there is not a setting like there is on iPhone. You have to go into the photo and choose HDR and you can toggle it off and on.
Yeah.
And manual settings. This, I think, is so great. And I didn't know anything about this until you told me.
Yes. So first of all, let's talk about that grid. That is an option that you have. I know on iPhones, you can turn that on and off. We're not probably going to get into the rule of thirds too much, but you can put that grid on to help you out with composition. But as far as exposure and focus, you can do that manually on your phone by simply pressing, because your phone will decide kind of where your focus should be. But if you want a little bit more control, then you click, where you want the focus to be on your screen. Likewise, so that's that little box there. So, my focus is set to kind of the belly of that tiger there. And then likewise, that little slider will pop up where you can set your exposure manually. So that little slider goes up and down and you can, because just like focus, your phone will decide what kind of exposure to have. So you can definitely control that yourself. And I recommend that for a lot of.
Right. And that's such a simple thing because often when I'm taking photos, they're so dark and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't know. And I didn't know that just by adjusting that slider up and down, I could just change everything instantly. It was great.
Yeah. Or if you have backlighting, your photos can tend to look, blown out. So maybe you want to turn that exposure down or, whatever the case. Again, play around. Right? Stand in front of your subject and move that slider up and down and see what you like most.
Absolutely. And I think this is great too, because Zoom is only for meetings, not for photography.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I see so many people doing this where you'll stand far from your subject and then zoom your camera in. Definitely, if you're able, get close to your subject and try to avoid using that zooming option, because when you zoom, you lose quality in your photo. And I think Anita's got
yeah, I've got a next screen here that shows it.
So this is me zooming in and then me coming close to my subject and taking that photo. You can see how much detail is lost when you zoom in.
And that's really important when you're trying to sell home decor, furnishings, all that kind of stuff, because people really want to see detail in what they're getting.
Yeah.
And it just sets the product up in such a more realistic and an awesome, beautiful way. And lenses, this is one of my pet peeves, at least even just with my friends taking photos and posting on social, right? About what you should do with your lens.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, clean your lens for sure. I know I'm guilty of this. My son will take my phone and he's got cheese or yogurt on his fingers 90% of the time, and that ends up on the lens. So that makes all the difference.
Absolutely.
I make it a habit every time I pick up my phone to take a picture. I'll just give that lens a wipe for sure.
Right, and then if you're doing like a selfie shot, to clean the front lens.
For sure. get
Well, I
that.
mean, that little bit of blurriness does take away.
Yeah.
It does, you're a little less wrinkly when you're blurry, but
Yeah.
yeah. And then what do you think about clip-on lenses?
Yeah, there's so much fun. I think I'm gonna say Olo Clip was like the original, but there's so much out there that you can like buy, and they're inexpensive and they're lots of fun. You can get all kinds of zoom lenses and macro and wide angle. So definitely get on Amazon and poke around because there's lots of fun options for sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, angles. So talking about how changing your perspective when you're taking pictures can make all the difference in the world as well.
Yes.
Because it affects mood, right? So it affects the mood and the outcome. And I think you and I have talked a lot about that you need to really experiment with angles to sort of capture the product in the best light.
Yeah. This seems to be the theme through this webinar for sure, but play around. I think I think that's the key is just move your body around. Don't just sort of stand in one spot. Because some things will look great, straight on. Some things might look better from bird's eye. So just move your body and play around, move things around, move yourself around to try to figure out what kind of looks best. And the more you do that, the more you learn, and the more you'll get to know, kind of best practices for what you're shooting.
I thought I would just make a little comment about how mistakes we've made here. We have, like when we just want to do photos of samples in the showroom, like in the past, we would just come out, take a picture, always standing from the same spot, right? Just stand right in front of it, click, and it's like, yeah.
Because that's easy, right? That's quick and easy.
Yeah, but it's always the same, and it doesn't really always give you the best like angle or perspective of the piece that you're shooting.
Right, exactly.
So.
Because I think we don't think to do that, right? We just kind of go into the most comfortable, neutral space to take a photo, right? And typically that's eye level, which we're going to talk about first. And there's nothing wrong with this. It's great. But that is kind of our neutral, right? That's kind of where we all shoot everything from. So.
And when you're like busy and stuff and you rush over to just take a quick photo, when really it's like you said, it's good to be an experiment more and try.
You don't even think to just squat and take from below, right? Like this is sort of the easiest,
And very common in home decor and furnishings photography, right?
Yeah. And like I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just play around to get a little bit of variety. So eye level is the simplest, most commonly used. You kind of just photograph things as you see them. What is important to note is that when you take photos from eye level, this is where you'll see most of the background. So really kind of try to address what's behind your subject, and is it busy? Is there lots of stuff? Is there clutter? Is that the best angle? And if it is, then kind of try to maybe clear out the background or see, just keep that in mind when you're taking.
Sorry guys, I had to escape there for a minute. Don't know if you heard the ruckus in the background was my beautiful cat howling and scratching to be let into the webinar. So we have an extra participant.
I have to kick my dogs out.
And Kora sent us these 3 photos to sort of, explain what you were looking at here.
So this is just a photo of my beloved Papa San chair, and I had like some toys around, so I made sure to clear the area and brought in some plants, and then I went into one of my favorite editing apps, which is VSCO, and I just, I have my little go-to filter, and I cranked up the fade a little bit to give it kind of a vintage look. And this was a tougher exposure because the background was I have got some sun coming in through that window, so it tends to kind of blow things out. So I had to play with that exposure for sure, because my phone didn't know what it was doing if I just kind of let it go off on its own. And of course this was like several pictures before I got the one that, so really like take the photos. You don't you don't need to wait to have the perfect shot. Keep shooting it and do it at different times of the day, so you'll have, you know, a number of choices.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, bird's eye, which is one of my favorites. I always love like the bird's eye look because it's so, with flat lays and everything being so popular, I think it's a great way to capture a subject.
Absolutely. It's great for smaller things. I mean, it's great for everything. For dogs, it's great for playing on the floor.
Hey, baby.
Yay, baby. Always making an appearance.
It's fun. It adds a really nice variety, I find, to your feed for sure. If you're doing bigger arrangements, get on top of something, stand on a chair.
Oops.
It's a fun way to showcase collections of things.
Absolutely, yeah, I love it. I love that look. And then here's some photos that you took with your phone to show when it's not professional photography, but done, with our phones, which is what a lot of us are using.
Yeah. So it's fun. It's fun to have things kind of like off camera, like kind of peeking in a little bit, just to add some interest, a little bit of like negative space. I've got some rugs coming in.
Yeah,
So
I love.
definitely.
And I love the photo of the kids, and they just look. I wonder what they're talking about. That's what I want to know. Like, what are they?
Yeah.
What are they trying to figure out?
I don't know.
Low level. Let's talk about low level, getting like that below eye level to make your subject appear larger.
Definitely not ideal, unless that's the look you're going for. Not ideal for to photograph people. It's very, it's very chinny. I don't know if you guys have done this, like put your phone kind of below and taken a selfie. It's not the most flattering. It's not a, photo for a Tinder profile, that's for sure. But it's really fun to create some drama, so it makes things appear larger. So if that's kind of what you're looking for, you want a different angle, try that one out for sure.
Yeah, and I think
really good for dog noses, you guys.
What I think is great too is like, for example, the wall decor picture that we're showing there, it really shows the scale of something.
Yeah.
So because sometimes it can be difficult to see scale in a photo, especially wall decor, if it's on a wall, that can be challenging sometimes. And I think that's really great to show sort of, but I like that you put it on the floor, because art doesn't have to just go on the wall, which I think is great too.
Yeah, but it can make things appear a little bit skewed as well. So, depending on what you're after, kind of, again, play around. If you get really close to a subject, it'll make everything in the foreground look quite wide and large.
And these photos are just amazing, I have to tell you. Is that a llama, or is that a llama or an alpaca?
That's a sheep.
It's a sheep. Oh, it's a sheep.
It's a sheep, yeah. Our friend has a farm just across the bridge, and that's, yeah, I feel like that's Curly.
Yeah.
Like that, his name is Curly, I want to say.
Hey, ladies, sorry to interrupt. We're getting a lot of questions about the editing apps, but editing app, but we're going to have a slide coming up, right?
You bet.
List them? Bam.
You bet. All right. So, but the Kora's talked about this a few times, but really the gist of learning and getting better at photography, just like anything in our lives, is practice and playing around to see what suits, your brand, your products, and that you should be shooting product from various angles to see what works best, and just to keep playing, because unlike the days, Kora, you and I talked about this a little while ago about how, back in the 80s, I'm kind of giving away my age, but we used film, and so you didn't want to take 20 pictures of the same thing, because you had to get that made, and it was costly. But now
it's amazing, you guys, the stuff that we have at our fingertips now, and how easy it is for us. And I know this is the theme, but really, I mean, I don't have a formal photography education outside of high school, and the way I learned was just trial and error. So really just start shooting. Take your phone and start. I mean, all of the photos that maybe not on the slides, but everything I've taken here is with my phone. So really just have some fun with it, play around, and learn.
Absolutely. And I think this is a big one, especially with when Instagram hit the scene, the popularity of filters being used from our phones. So I know you have some great advice for this as well.
Yeah, so filters, I always use filters, whether it's, big lifestyle shoots for Style and Form or, phone stuff. I just think it adds, I think it just adds to the photos. We have to be careful when we're doing interiors and furniture, obviously, to stay true to that the colors stay true. So I've got some go-to filters. I use Lightroom to edit most of the lifestyle and product photography for Style and Form. Now, Lightroom is available on phones as well, and it's a good one. But I've got sort of 3 filters that I rotate through for Style and Form, and they typically just sort of bump up, my exposure or my darks, or, it doesn't really play with the color too much. So just be careful that your colors stay true.
Right. And so when we send out the webinar to you tomorrow by email, just as a follow-up, you'll have all these links as well that you'll be able to get for Kora's picks for her apps that you can use. So for Lightroom, Snapseed, and VSCO. And I think, Cora, one of the things that you told me too is like you're better off taking the photo with your camera and then filtering through one of these as opposed to taking it through the app, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the things I just wanted to say as far as furniture goes is obviously you want to stay as true as possible to the fabric color or the wood finish or whatever. So what you use enhances what's already there, right? It doesn't change the color.
Yeah, exactly. So more plays with shadows and contrast rather than color.
Right. And with Style and Form's brand, I think one of the things that, consistently is done with the photography that we do is that it is set in such a way that the brand continues through the photography. And because the brand is a little bit lighter, we don't often take photographs that are very dark. So everything tends to be very light filled, just as a general rule, to sort of consistently keep that brand within Instagram and on our social channels and in our marketing.
Yes, I need to clarify that that filters don't just mean color. I mean, they're great for like when you've got a lifestyle brand and you want your photos to all look, a certain color and be consistent. But it sort of encompasses everything, light, your shadows, your highlights.
Right. It's not just about adding a color over top. It's about everything. Right.
Yeah. So those are my favorite filters, but you guys just look at the apps that are available, because there's a ton of apps available. Those are just kind of my favorites and my go-tos. I also need to mention that your on the what am I trying to say? Your camera app will also have adjustments, so you don't need to download an app to make adjustments to your photo.
Right, because you can adjust contrast and lighting and warmth, everything with your phone.
Within your app, you can do some good editing as well.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting photo because the first one there on the left is without a filter, and then the other one was one that you edited with Snapseed. And you want to explain the differences that we're seeing a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, just off the cuff, definitely the blacks are blacker. It desaturated a bit, and this was just like a quick, I didn't even need to tweak this, because I like to, when I put a filter on, I like to also play with that filter and adjust it, but I just kind of threw it on, and I liked the result. So it, definitely desaturated. You can see just by his forehead, right? The oranges are not quite as orange. I mean, little details, the greens aren't as green. Contrast is definitely heavily bumped up. And I just want to mention that camera that my nephew is holding is the camera that my brother got.
Oh, really?
On his communion. That's the camera that started it all. So
that's amazing.
He's like in love with it now. He's like, carries it around, and it's pretty cute.
Next generation photographer. I love it.
Maybe.
Okay, so we're just going to do another poll number, why aren't you giving me my polls? Let's do poll number 2. And we're asking, what do you find hardest to photograph? So small objects, large spaces, intimate spaces, multiple products, that bird's eye, that flat lay look, or people and animals. And I kind of figured so far large spaces are really taken off here as like something that is challenging. And I would see that absolutely as being an issue. We'll just let this go for another second here. Okay, I'm just going to end this polling and I'm going to share results. So just sort of really large spaces are the one that really want everyone is really, you know, so maybe that's something we can touch on in future sessions or, you know, blog posts or on social or little videos from you, Kora, something, you know, that how we can discuss how our partners can manage that a little bit better.
I think just I can see that being challenging for sure. I think I would start, I know we're not going to touch on this too much right now, but definitely changing your angle so I can see how it would be good to just sort of stand and snap a photo, but try to maybe get down lower and try to consider everything that's in the background. So that I would sort of start with and move around, maybe not straight on, but maybe you want to be to the left of your subject or take the room, you know, from an angle so that if you're say shooting a sofa, maybe you're not straight on, maybe you go left or right a little bit and maybe get down lower. So that's something to play around with a little bit in the meantime until we get back and touch on that.
All right, and flash or no flash?
No flash.
Only if it's very dark, right? Only if it's really dark.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have wrinkles.
I know it's like I know
Flash after 40.
but I have my flash on, turned off. I don't even have it on like as an option. Unless you are in a really dark space and you need to take a photo of something to like remember something, or you know you need a photo. It's not so it looks good, but just so you can see it. Maybe then will I turn on my flash, but otherwise I just tend to not.
So I know natural light's a really big part, right, of your photography. And this example here, right, is with flash and without flash, right?
You can see it made that shadow. I mean, flash, you know, I use flash all the time with, you know, when I'm using my camera, but on the phone, I just, and maybe there's better phones with better flash, but I still feel like natural light is I think key in making these photos look their best for sure.
Right, and so definitely natural light is your best friend in photography, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that's what first thing that stuck out to you is turn off the lights to get the truest colors.
Because obviously different lights will have, will cast a different color. So when you mix outdoor light and indoor and various types of indoor light, those will all sort of blend together and you won't get a true colors. So definitely for best results, turn off the light.
Right, and place your subject close to a window, right, and take advantage of the light sources because they change throughout the day, right? So you're going to get different times of the year. It's going to, you know, you're going to have to adjust your schedule as well.
My place is actually quite dark, so I have to choose my time very carefully. I have, you know, sort of through the middle of my house. It's dark most of the time, so I either have to be on one side of the house or the other. So I understand that challenge for sure, but you'd be surprised how much light you can actually get out of a window. You know, when it might look like it's too dark, but definitely try.
Right.
Don't be afraid to move stuff around. If you're shooting a chair, you know, you'll have to, I mean, my house, this place is a mess 90% of the time because I'm always moving stuff around to get the best light.
Right, and I think this question is really, you know, sort of something that I've always wondered. It's like, but Kora, what if all I can get is crappy, low natural light? What can you do?
So try to take what little light you do have and make the most of it. If you get, I think we've got a slide.
Yeah, right here, bouncing off a white background.
So you can see on the left, and I don't mind. I need to mention that shadow, I don't mind. I like it. I think it adds some drama. But if you fill light can definitely be a friend. So the bigger, do you see that board that I placed right beside the subject? It'll bounce the light from that window there onto the subject, making everything brighter.
Right.
Those,
So got is you've got a table set up in front of a window, right, with your subject, and then you've got a whiteboard to bounce the light back onto the piece.
That's right. And that is just a piece of foam core. That is my go-to. I use it all the time, and you can get it in much bigger sizes. And the bigger the sheet, the more light it'll bounce. So that can be really useful. I bring these to Style Inform photo shoots. We've got sheets that are 4 feet by 8 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll brighten your subject right up. So, and that can be purchased. I want to say you could probably go to like just an art store even. Yeah.
You can go to Michael's. You can go to Michael's, or any custom framer that's doing framing work can order foam core for you.
Even small ones, you guys, you can get, if you're shooting small products, you can get at a dollar store. But big sheets, you can just call around. I'm sure you can find it.
Absolutely.
So if you're like doing products for your own website,
yes,
you're gonna want to see all the details, right? Like the photo on the right. Because we do white background photos, which are the main photos on the website. So you would want something in that case, right? Like using a white background like that, so you can see the details rather than the dramatic effect on the left.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That drama is really nice for your feed, but yeah, like you said, exactly, it's not great for your customers to see detail. So.
And I think, Allison, that's a really great point, that these photography tips aren't just for your social channels, but also if you have e-com and you're selling products that you need to photograph and put on your site, these are spectacular for that. All right.
Back up for 1 sec. I just want to touch on, if you say you're in a space and you have absolutely no light and all that's available to you is, or it's nighttime or whatever, you have, you're shooting inside and you have your lights on. You can play around with white balance. This is great in Lightroom. So it basically renders the colors, specifically neutral colors, correctly. So it'll it's a little bit of an art form. You have to play around with it, but it is available to you. So it will,
maybe that's something we can follow up with, like to talk about white balance a little bit in some future. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, and steady as she goes, because so many of us take these shaky pictures because our hands are always a little bit shaky, even when we don't notice it.
Yes, we are just naturally, even the slightest movement. That's why I take 10 of the same photo and then I'll zoom in and make sure that it's focused, because nothing worse than like taking the shot and then taking the space apart and then going back and realizing that it's, not
right.
So.
And you have two tips for us. One is tripods.
Yeah. So definitely these little tripods are amazing. Just remember that when you're using a tripod, I still recommend timing down. So using the timer option so that you're completely hands-free when the photo is taken. Because even when you're on a tripod and you click that shutter, there might still be a little bit of movement. So that's a great thing to do. Also, if you don't have a tripod, you can lean your photo up against, or your camera up against something, and then use that timer option again.
And I love your tip too about, like, if you're taking photos within the same space, you're doing multiple products, you just can leave the tripod in that spot and then just move the products in and out.
Yeah, nice and easy.
And then this, which I had never even thought of, about shooting in bursts in order to get, a clear photo. I did it yesterday. I used your tip yesterday at a picnic I was at, that we need to take a group shot, and everybody was moving around. And they got one good shot out of 30. So I was very pleased. Thank you.
Yeah. So you just hold your finger on the shutter, and it'll take photos as long as your finger is down. It'll just keep going. This is great if you're had too many coffees and you're having a shaky day. It just keeps going. It's also great if your subject is moving. So. Right.
Absolutely. So great for moving people shots. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then you sort of go in. It'll save as kind of one photo, and then you go into that photo, and it'll give you all of them, and you scroll through them. You don't probably want to keep all that on your phone because it takes up a lot of space. So, go through them and delete whatever doesn't work for you.
Exactly. Okay, and so we know this is definitely something for people who've heard this from our customers before about, setting how you set the scene to get great photography. And so we're going to talk about negative space and styling. And
Yeah.
so this is like the one area that we're all allowed to be negative.
Yes. I love negative space. It's really great to really draw in your subject. It's also really great for copy. I think it just makes photos a lot more interesting.
Yeah, because it creates a really dramatic image, right? That you can really sort of because there's more focus on that product and not very busy. Though sometimes, of course, filled up, those are the maximalism photos are exactly what you need. But in some instances, you might want space that you can write marketing copy on, or you just might want to have a space that breathes a lot and really shows off something in particular.
For sure. So what I would do typically is when I have my subject, I'll take a photo, straight on with my subject in the center, and then I'll move around and then kind of look at my grid in my photo feed and kind of see all of it together and see kind of what draws my eye the most.
Right.
And I really tend to lean towards negative space for sure.
Okay, so one more poll here that we're going to do. So come on, poll 3. We're going to do what type of shots have worked best for you guys on your social channels? Is it people, customers, and staff? Is it close-ups of products? Is it more interior shots? Is it that flat lay bird's eye perspective? What has really helped you on your social? What gets the most love from your customers? Because that will help us too when we're creating shots for you guys that you can use that we put in the hub. It'll be great for us to know what's working really well so that we can create more of that for you to be able to share. All right. Let's see, we'll just end the polling here and we'll share the results. So interior shots. So we've got interior shots as being something that's challenging, and also interior shots as something that is really popular with people. So definitely something to follow up on.
Okay. I love it.
What about dogs, Anita? I don't see dogs.
I know.
Well, I think that's a no-brainer, Allison. It's a no-brainer.
And sheep.
All right. Okay, so now we're going to go into styling. One of the things that Kora, I think you are just a magician at.
Thanks.
I just love, there's not a photo shoot that comes out that I'm just not like, oh my God, give it all to me. So, and whether it's people or flat lays, really the styling of a shoot can really make or break a photo.
Yeah, so don't be afraid, obviously, to play around. Our webinar theme, just Allison will vouch for this. We put stuff in and take it out, and sometimes the shot just comes together like this, and sometimes it's like, oh, what does it need? Sometimes,
oh my God, yeah. Some of the shots that were like, it was like off the cuff, put these things together, was not planned, and they turned out fantastic.
Have fun with it, right?
Yeah.
That's the key. Just play around and have fun. I like to, when we've got a new sort of shoot coming up with new furniture, new pieces, I like to look at Pinterest for inspiration for sure. That place, Pinterest is a goldmine for inspiration for sure.
And I think this is really great, like talking about personality, like injecting personality. So for me, what I love about this shot is it's not just a cup there, but you actually put something into the cup like someone had just sort of left that room.
Yeah. I love to have long discussions about who lives in the space, and I'd like to make stuff up and use my imagination. Is it a guy? Is it, what kind of shoes does he wear? Is it, a family? Does a family live there? Are they messy? Are they, clean? And you guys, my go-to, when in doubt, plants and books.
Right.
Are the key to making, I think, for me anyway, a space look. It just adds personality. It goes from kind of stale to like lived in, and yeah.
Yeah, and with plants are such a hot topic right now, right? Everybody, especially now during what we've been going through, people are just buying up plants like crazy, and seeing them everywhere. It's great.
Yeah, move stuff around, like things, you might have things around, that'll help with a lifestyle shot. You know, you just move around your house. And I mean, I know that we do this, Allison, is we will bring whatever random, you know.
Value Village, your favorite, plus I guess what we have at home, plus whatever you got from Value Village.
Oh yeah. You guys, vintage shopping is it's kind of a talent that I have. So I tend to definitely bring some.
Well, you know, as humans, we live with things, right? Like we have things that add to our personalities and to what we are. And our customers have multiple product lines that really reflect who they are as a brand. And the people coming in to see these social feeds and these photos really want to see like their lifestyle in these photos. So I think it's really, really important. These are sort of two of my really favorites that you've done as part of our photo shoots that you've done with us. Again, with like the tea and the food, or like the muffin that's been eaten, that's like someone's just left that scene. I can see myself sitting there. I think that speaks volumes, and often something I've often forgot about when doing photography, about that capturing a moment, like a stolen moment from someone, I think is beautiful.
Yeah. And one of the best parts I find about shooting with Style and Form is eating the props.
True.
Oh my God, yeah.
You know, something, a piece can look like something else. How do I explain that? Like, you know, a cup can be used for a vase. So really try to use your imagination when, you know, you might have everything you need at your fingertips. You might not need to go and do a big, you know, shop for props.
Yeah, because we don't spend a lot of money on props, really. So
we bring stuff from home that we're excited about, right?
Yeah.
We've added this photo in as an example, Kora, of like one thing on our social feed that always, of your photos, that just gets incredible reaction. And it's also a testament, like this doesn't have a lot of extra in it. It really is, it's just about the composition and the lighting and the drama that you actually captured in the shot.
Sometimes absolutely less is more. And the fact that this is in, you know, a white room, it's very monochromatic.
Very
definitely just a striking, yeah. I mean, I'm happy and somewhat surprised that this is so popular. I mean, I love really simple photos for sure. Lots of negative space here.
Yeah.
So
well, I think at last glance this morning, I think this had over 700 likes on Instagram.
Yeah. Awesome.
So yeah, really incredible. Okay, so we want to take questions from people.
Got some good questions.
Oh, good.
I have been writing them down.
Oh,
I'm gonna stop sharing so we can see people.
Okay.
Great.
Going back a little bit. Hopefully she's still here, Madison. How do you avoid shadows with bird's eye view? Or is it more about doing it at the right time of day?
It definitely can be both. First of all, I don't think shadows are always necessarily that bad, but that board to bounce light would solve much of that problem for sure. So that's how I would probably avoid. Yeah.
Using the white background.
And moving around, like moving around until like if you can avoid the shadow.
Yeah, move that board. You can get two, and you know, put them like this. There's definitely options, but those foam core boards are friends.
And speaking of that, Danielle was asking about if you're using 4x8 boards, where, like, I know we bought them at a craft store, right? I think Opus maybe?
Opus. We bought them at Opus.
Do you know if anywhere else you can?
I think Michael's would have them.
You can order them from Michael's. Yeah, anybody that does custom framing can order foam board that size.
Just white.
Because they order, like a custom framer will order that foam core in boxes, like huge, and then they cut it to size for projects.
There you go.
Perfect. And who else do we have here? Oh, Kirsten was saying that her shop has bad lighting and not a lot of windows. So any suggestions?
So that bad lighting, so everything is working against you. Definitely then try to use the windows that you have. If your lighting inside is bad, first play around with the white balance, I think, in Lightroom. So get some apps and play around if you're forced to shoot inside with the lighting that you have. Otherwise, try to get to as close to your natural light source as possible.
Well, maybe Allison, we can write that down as like a future,
That's really
something we could delve into a little bit more and share some information the next few weeks from Kora, like how if you don't have great lighting inside your store, here's some other options that you can do.
You know, one of the things I wanted to say, we've used this open space before to book a room to do photos. I mean, we've done photo shoots at houses where we've combined it with staging jobs and that sort of thing. But this open space, you can often rent spaces pretty inexpensively that are, and you can look specifically for natural lighting. So if you're able and you can transport the product, that might be an option too.
Yeah,
We've used this
I bring
space and it's been great.
quite often to photograph, so
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have to use the space that you're in. But if you've got some windows, then you have some light, and just kind of see what time of day that light is the best and utilize that for sure.
And there's a question from Christy.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize, I've taken like some Cole's notes here. I'm not reading it word for word. Trick to taking a photo of a room where there's furniture against the window, but you don't want to see out the window. Kind of like in real estate photos where they blur out the background.
Oh, yes. Good. With your phone, hey? So I would probably, I would bump up the exposure. So that Papa San chair image in a previous slide, that's how I have shears on that window. So that's a good tip. So that'll let the light in, but kind of try to mask what's behind the window. And then I would bump up the exposure so that it kind of blows up. Play with that exposure slider so that it blows up what's coming in through the window, but you don't lose a lot of detail. And then I would bounce the light back towards the subject.
Got it.
So take that board, this might be too much information, and then just bounce some of that light back. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. I have a question too about, maybe you can't, no, I think you can do it with a phone. I've done it by accident. You know where you have the, like, everything, the whole, like, area you're taking the picture of is in focus, but there's like a person or a dog going by in movement and they're blurred out. I always, like, they're blurred in their movement. I always love those photos. I did them by accident. I've always wondered, like, how do I do those on purpose? Can you do it with a phone?
Yeah. So you just have to make sure that because your shutter opens and closes. So if it's darker, it's slower to open and close. So that movement will be more noticeable. Hand movement, or, whatever's in your, whatever you're taking a photo of. So I think you just need to make sure that well, I don't know how you do that on a phone, but that your subject, I guess, will just have to move at the right speed. So take the photo with them moving quickly or slowly and see what works. Because if there's lots of light coming in, then it might just catch them in focus. And then have them move faster. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then I guess if you do that thing where you like hold down the button to like get full photos, that's probably a good way.
Yeah, that would be a good way to do it too. And then keep trying, have them move slower or faster, and you'll get, you should get the like desired amount of blur. Because sometimes that blur can look ghostly, right?
Right.
It's just like
Well, those were the questions. Those were good ones. I've learned a lot.
I think there was one more though. Was there one about mirrors?
Oh, did I miss that?
I think so. I saw there was one about how do you take a shot in a room that has lots of like mirrors or glass on the walls.
So mirrors, basically you'll just have to consider, you'll have to move your body around to get the desired reflection. Definitely not straight on, so you don't see yourself unless that's what you're going for. So, you'll need to be at an angle away from the mirror, whatever reflective surface. And then you'll need to, once you figure that out, then you'll need to make sure that the reflection that you have coming in, because that can look really great if the reflection isn't busy or messy, right? So look at that reflection and then clean out whatever is being reflected that you don't like.
Do you want to know a little industry trick for wall decor? Because I've worked with wall decor for a long time. Is when movie sets actually get wall decor, they take the glass out or they order it without glass because it's that troublesome to be able to have that. So it is a challenge, not for professional photographers, for filmmakers, for everyone. That's a really big challenge.
Spray. I think there's a spray that takes the reflection out.
Yeah, or they order canvas. They order canvas because then it's not. But.
And if you don't want a reflection in the mirror, you use foam Kora, the white.
Yes, but that it would need to be quite big. So I would almost consider like a sheet or a curtain, because it would need to be, if it's a big mirror, it would need to be a big, because of how far you're taking your photo from the subject. So.
And if anybody's in Calgary,
assess the reflection and then address what's being reflected.
Anyone in Calgary, if you need foam core, you can go to Frame Source.
Oh, there you go.
We've got one more tips about taking in a picture in a bathroom when you have so little space, like to move around. Again, I think it's probably just playing around and taking photos.
Just back up into, I know because I have a really small bathroom, back up into the doorway. Also, a wide angle lens would do it. One of those little clip-on guys, unless your phone has that option. I know I don't have a super new iPhone, but there's like lenses that'll just give you a bigger, wider.
Right.
It'll take a nice wide photo, so you'll be able to fit a lot of that bathroom. And those lenses are cheap.
Right.
Quite helpful.
Thank you, Kora. This has all been just so amazing. I think I've learned so much. I just want everyone to know we're going to be sending out an email probably tomorrow if everything, fingers crossed, goes really well. We're going to send out a recap of this webinar. You'll be able to see the video and the slides. And if you have any questions, if anything pops up overnight, if you're like me in the middle of the night, you're like, but what about, feel free to respond to that email tomorrow, let us know, or DM us on our social channels. Let us know what information you're looking for. You can see here, you can stay in touch with us on our website, on Facebook, on Instagram, we're on Pinterest and LinkedIn. We'll be posting links to the webinar recap on all of those as well. And I just wanted to say thank you, Kora, so much. Thank you, Allison, so much. This has been really, really, really great. And I'm just going to stop sharing our screens. If anybody wants to turn on their camera and say hi, this is the time to do it. Otherwise, we're going to finish up for everybody because I know everyone has super busy days.
Thanks, everyone. So appreciate you supporting us. And if you have any thoughts, recommendations, any other information you'd want to know from us, just email.
Yeah, we definitely want to know moving forward what other webinars or what other support we can be helping you with, what pain points we can help you solve. We just don't want to be your partner for buying furniture and accessories, but also your partner in helping you solve business problems.
We want to share information.
Yeah. So if there's anything in particular, please let us know and we'll put together something and get that information out to everyone. And make sure you check out the hub. Make sure you check out all of Kora's photos in the hub that you can use on your own social channels as well. Where we'd love for you to be able to we put them there so you can use them. So if anytime, just go right in there and
log in, download them.
Yep, get a login. You'll be able to download them all. All right, everybody.
That was really fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.